If there's ever a time to take a detour, it's when you see a superstar. It's the KIMology 411 Superstar segment, where Kim introduces you to awesome people and their amazing stories. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our latest superstar guest, along with our very own superstar, Kim Shows.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my next Superstar segment. I'm so excited to be here with my friend Kelly Walker. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing good. One day we're going to do this in person.
Oh my gosh, right?
I know. You've got a retreat coming up. We'll talk about that later, but my plan is to hope to get to come. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you've done for me, because in order to be a superstar, you really have to have a superstar team. You can't do this on your own.
No.
And for so many years I was doing everything on my own. I thought I could just do it. And as I was helping other people, I never really ever took the time to help myself. And it took you and some other people to basically let me know that it's okay. And so I wanted to say thank you, because today in the meeting that I was at earlier, I got to thank you. And you met my friend Shannon when you were in town doing your thing, Shannon.
Yes, that's right.
Today she did a thing and she was so proud because she's a realtor and she's had the best year so far with COVID going
During
on.
COVID. That's awesome.
She got an award. And she stopped and she said, I have to stop right now because she was talking about gratitude, that her thing was on gratitude. She goes, but I have to stop right now and I'm going to pick on Kim. So I thought she was going to say like, what are you grateful about? Like, tell me something you're grateful for. So I was ready. And she goes, I just have to say that this girl right here, she sends me cards. She sends me brownies. When it's just like they come whenever I need them. I don't know how she knows that. And she's just a person that she's just so giving. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today without her. And so that's a trickle down effect, because I wouldn't be helping her if you weren't helping me. So I have to say thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me that.
So,
and you are the easiest person ever to help, because you're so positive. You do the things, you take it seriously, it's important to you. And so you're like my A+ gold star, perfect everything.
I still talk too much, and you probably want to sit me over in the back of the class sometimes.
No, never. You talk just the right amount.
So let's go back. Let's just tell people, first of all, how we know each other, because it wasn't like we grew up together. I believe in 7th grade, that's when I met you for the first time. And how many schools had you been to when you got to 7th grade? Because you had to move around a lot. How many schools had you been to? Like,
by that time, I had been to 4 schools.
4 schools.
So 7th, that was my 5th school.
The 5th school. And I was at Barrington, which is, I went to the same school. And so coming in 7th grade is the best year to even come to meet new people, because and did you go to elementary school at like Shez or like at a?
I went to Tecumseh South for 1 year. For
1 year, okay.
Yeah.
And so that had to have been that has to be hard. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was super hard.
My friends, like at one time my dad was going to move to Houston when Santa Fe was closing, and I was in high school. And I overheard a conversation. It was all like, it was like a Hallmark movie where you overhear something and then you run out of the room.
Yeah.
That was me. And I ran to my friend Pam's house because her mom and dad also worked for Santa Fe. I was crying and I don't want to move. And I didn't even hear the rest of the conversation when my dad was like, yeah, we're not moving. I only heard the possibility. So that I know. So I can't imagine as a little kid, you get to know somebody and then you get picked up and then you get moved on. But seventh grade is a great year because you have all the different schools coming together.
Yes.
And you can actually just start making, like nobody knows each other and
right.
kind of start intertwining there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I totally remember you there, but you didn't get to stay very long. You weren't at our school.
2 years.
2 years. So you didn't make it to high school. You just were just there, but you didn't move that far away. Now I'll tell you something you don't know is I was at a Highland Park game and I saw you cheering. And I remember us trying out for cheerleader back in 7th grade.
Right.
And I was so proud of you. I was like, oh, we got it.
She's so sweet.
Cheerleader. Because, and I think it was because you were even new and you made it. There was no flipping way at Shawnee Heights. You would have been new and made a cheerleader. There was no way. So I was so happy for you. And that's something I've never told you before.
Oh my gosh. That's so sweet. Thank you.
So anyway, so tell us just a little bit about, now that people know that we've been together for 12 years. I think we've been out of school for like 5.
All right,
okay, 35, but whatever.
Decades.
Tell everybody just about your history. Like what you did, kind of your background, and then how you achieved superstardom.
Okay, so after we, and you're right, we only moved like a half a mile, but it was a whole different school district. So so I went to Highland Park, finished high school. I went to KU for a couple years. I majored in French. And then I went on a mission for my church. And then I came back and I was like, what am I going to do with French? I should get something that's more useful. So I decided to be an art teacher. So I started my art education degree. And so I had to start all over because none of those credits transfer from French to art teacher. So then my last year, I got an internship as an art teacher, and I was like, oh crap, no. So it was horrible. I was teaching at the Mulvane Art Museum.
Okay.
And then I was doing like a traveling art teacher after school, and I literally wanted to kill everyone. Every child. So I was like, this might not be the best career choice for me. So I went back and I was like, okay, this didn't work out. We need to change majors right now. And I need a different internship. So I changed to just art, and I only had 1 year left. So basically all I had left was student teaching. So my last year, instead of student teaching, I did all the graphic design classes. And I got an internship as a graphic designer, and I loved it. There were no children involved. I had my own very quiet office, and it was amazing. So that's what I did. So for 22 years, I was a graphic designer. I had my own business on the side, and I worked full-time in an in-house graphic design department. And I loved it. And then things went wonky in my life. I wanted to get pregnant. I couldn't get pregnant for years. Finally did, had a horrible pregnancy, postpartum depression, and then I could never get off the medication because when I try to go off the medication, I'd go crazy. So until my son was 12, I was on all the medications, but I was turning into a zombie.
Right.
So the medications, they help you not be crazy, but they also numb you after a while.
Yeah.
So I was just alive. I wasn't living. I was just alive. And super depressed, super non-functional, super checked out of life. Ended up getting fired in 2017, which now that I look back was the greatest thing ever. But at the time, I thought it was the end of the world.
Right.
And I went home and I wallowed. I played video games and I slept. That's all I did. And then I got a ticket to this 3-day life-changing seminar, and somebody gave it to me for free. And if I had been working, I wouldn't have gone because it was during the week, but because I was doing nothing, I could go. But I thought, why would I go to that? I just want to stay home and wallow. But something I know, right? Something made me go. Something made me take that ticket. So I got dressed for the first time in a week and I went to that seminar and it was amazing. And it opened my eyes. It woke me up. And everything just snowballed from that first event. I went to one every month for 8 months. Not the same one. I went to different ones. I decided that I wanted to be that person on the stage, changing lives with my words. So I got trained as a speaker. I got trained as a life coach, and I hired all the coaches. My poor husband, I have spent so many thousands of his dollars over the last 3 years to get training, to get certified. And now this is what I do for a living. I've spoken in London 3 times. I have spoken all across the United States. And I teach everybody the drive-through method of manifesting, which is how you get what you want based on a very similar formula to getting food at a drive-through.
Right.
Ta-da!
That's awesome. So you are the queen of manifesting.
I am, but you know what? I didn't crown myself that.
Okay.
Other people crowned me that, and I thought, yeah, I really like that name. I think I'm going to keep it. So I did adopt it.
Good, because it fits you.
Thank you.
I love it. And so, one of the things that helps me out, and it took me a year, maybe even longer, because everybody, the problem that I see is that everybody wants to do it. Like, I've got a list of everything that I want to do, but it's trying to find the time to actually get stuff done. And so I think we don't think it happens. So we start out really good and then we're just like drop it off, as opposed to understanding I have time to do this. And I'm a very smart person, knowing that I know that I'm not going to do it today, but I'm going to put it on a list and I will get this done. But I have to have someone push me. And so when it was probably, about 3 years ago, I was at a meeting and a speaker handed out this list of affirmations. And she was like, if you just get up and listen to music in the morning and you say this, life will change. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, this is stupid. And I didn't even take it. Like, I'm not going to get up in the morning while I'm in the bathroom and I'm not going to talk to myself with this triple travel. I am awesome. I am great. And in my mind, I was like, that's dumb. And I think that's the first part of like breaking through people, because when I talk about stuff like this, they're either for it or they're really against it. And I don't get mad at either, because I really just thought it was kind of stupid, because I also was so focused. I was hyper focused on what I needed to do and that I know everything. So why would I need to do this? And what I didn't know is how awesome I really was. That was probably one of my biggest problems, is to realize I could help everybody else. And so it took a while. You do like a free Monday morning manifest thing. You had reached out to me a year before and said, hey, you should join this group. You're doing kind of things that I kind of do. And I was like, okay. Did I go to the group? No.
Not for a while.
I was in the process of what I needed to do at that time. And then all of a sudden in 2018, I said, I'm done with all of this. I don't want to be poor anymore. I want to have value. I want to figure this out, and I can't do this alone. So let me, change my thing. I started listening to your things. You and I started working together. I put a thing on Facebook that said, I'm willing to take on more clients. I'd never done that before. I've always just settled with the little bit of clients that I had, loving my free time and just hoping that the money came in and that I had enough, and just not spending a lot of money. I was very cheap. I just didn't spend money. And I thought, I'm tired of that. All my friends around me, they're all married. They're all living in $500,000 to $1 million houses. And I'm in the same house and I'm happy here, but am I really happy? And then you would help me kind of realize, I'm telling myself the wrong message. Like, first of all, I'm not telling myself anything, which is the wrong message. Because I
absolutely
my brain to come up and control my life. And so it took me, I think I finished my manifesto probably last September, right before I started it. Like I actually finished it. I don't remember when I sent it to you, but I was so happy that I was like, I finally did it. It took me the whole time, like months. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. And I've got your tape and I'm listening to it. And then I'm on YouTube and I'm trying to, like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to. I need to know what to do. And from there, I got my manifest. And it makes me work out every day because there's a part in there that says I take care of my body. Like, wasn't gonna work out today, but that's not taking care of your body. So it gets me to go work out. I wake up in a better mood. I'm listening to different music. I do find myself sometimes, I believe we need to have those pity party me times. So where I'm watching television and I can just feel it bringing me down. I'm thinking, at least it's fake bringing me down. This is not real. This is just fake. I have to work through it. And how do I work my body through this not real stuff? And I'm kind of weird when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I changed my whole way of doing it. So the way of coming up with a manifest was great, but it took me years to even understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
Do you get people like that when you talk about manifesting that think you're just completely bonkers?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally.
And I do too. And I'm like, no, really, it works. And the cool thing about it to me is that I don't have to do any of the work. I just leave it up to you. I just direct him to you. Like I can help people.
You're awesome.
People with what I do, but I'm like, no. I'm not organized like this, nor do I want to help you with this. You need to join this group and then we'll do this together. Let's work on it together. And I can be your place here, but you really need to focus and go to the professional. And I am not the professional on a manifest or, So I like that team power. I like the fact that you work with other people. Who in your life do you work with that you believe helped you get where you're at? Besides your husband, we know
he's awesome.
He is awesome, and he's joining more and more and more. We'll talk about him at a whole, later. But like who do you reach out to keep you on track? And when you first heard about manifesting, what did you think? Were you like, yeah, that sounds awesome? Or you're like, what?
Oh, I have a story.
Okay.
I have a manifesting story.
Love it.
So I read The Secret.
Ooh.
On the law of attraction, which it's all about manifesting. Mm-hmm. I read The Secret and I remembered very strongly the part where she fixed her vision by focusing on, her perfect vision, and how she used her thoughts and her words to literally heal her vision to 2020. And I was like, what? Is that really possible? I'm going to do that if that's possible. Heck, if she can do it, I can do it. So I it's so bad. So I finished the book at night and I was going to bed and I said, okay, I'm going to do this tonight. Tonight, I am going to heal my vision. So my plan was to lay in bed and think about here's the big problem. What I did was I laid in bed and I thought about how much I hate wearing glasses. Ooh. How much I hate going swimming because I have to put my glasses off on the chair and then I can't see anybody. So if a friend comes, I don't know because I can't see them, and how much I hated that, and how much I hated not being able to see when I woke up in the morning and having to go find my glasses, or how much I hated in Kansas when you walk inside in the winter, your glasses fog up for like 5 minutes and you're blinded. So I did this. I laid in bed and I thought about all the things I hated about glasses. I did not think about healing my vision. No. I did not think about my eyes getting better. I thought about how much I hated wearing glasses. Okay, that is the opposite of manifesting. So when I woke up in the morning and everything was still a blurry blob, I was so mad. I was like, I manifested for hours last night. Why isn't my vision perfect this morning? So I said, that's a load of crap. The law of attraction's a load of crap. Rhonda Byrne's a shyster. I mean, I was so mad. So I threw it all out. I threw the baby out with the bathwater. And that was like probably 15 years ago, probably 20 years ago when I read that. And so when I went to that 3-day seminar, he mentioned manifesting. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Really? And then I went to the next seminar and they talked about it a lot. Like 25% of that event was about manifesting. And I was like, okay, people, either I did it wrong and there's really something to it, or all these people are idiots. They didn't seem like idiots. So I thought, well, maybe I had done it wrong. So I started studying manifesting, and I realized that I had been focusing on the thing I did not want,
Right.
instead of the thing I wanted.
Right.
And so many people focus on what they don't want, which makes them get more of it. So yes, that was my initial experience with manifesting. It did not go well, but it got better.
It got better. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of strange. We live in a world right now where it's instant gratification.
Yes.
And one of our podcasts that I'm working on is how it's such a negative thing that we're going through right now, because someone calls you, and if you don't respond back within like a minute, they text you, and then you don't respond back in a minute, they call you again, and you're like in a meeting or you're doing something or you're driving and you're not supposed to be on your phone, and then you get that message that goes, are you mad at me?
You're like, no, I have a life.
Yeah, like I don't sit by my phone, and and we're training ourselves, with totally wrong to not respect other people's time and stuff like that. But one thing that we don't is we don't respect the time it takes to actually make a change. I always go back to dieting, because dieting is the number one thing that everybody always tries to do, and they don't realize that a diet doesn't work, as opposed to the life change for the rest of your life. Your body loves that normal weight. You have a normal weight that your body's used to. It's like, yeah, we love that. And you're like, I'm gonna change my lifestyle. So I'm gonna not eat any more dessert or anything. And you like shed the pounds. And then you think, I guess I can have dessert again because I'm down to that normal weight. And your body goes, thank you, the dessert is back. and then your body has its own little party, because we don't realize how we really have to change things forever. And so one thing that I've done, I'm very successful, is I never made my bed my entire childhood. My mother made my bed for me. She was a stay-at-home mom. And I got up in the morning, and when I came home to go to bed, as a little kid, not really a teenager, she didn't really go in our room as a teenager. I just never had a made bed. But as a little kid, my mom got up in the morning, shipped us off to school, and went and she made all the beds, cleaned our rooms. She did everything. And she would say, I'm just lucky to get to be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm thinking, you're destroying us as human beings, because we have no responsibility. But I'm not going to complain. I'm like, whatever. And so I never made my bed. I've been married, don't make my bed. I was whatever. And I watched a video of, it was that military one.
Yeah.
About making your bed. I saw that one. And then
I love that video.
Talked about making the bed. And I thought, I deserve a made bed. I deserve that feeling that you get when you change your sheets. Because that's really the only time you get that feeling when you don't make your bed is when you change the sheets and you make your bed. And you get into it, and it's so, the blankets are tight.
So amazing.
And you're like, why do I only get that every time I change my sheets? Why don't I get that every day. So I started with baby steps. I'm like, I'm gonna make my bed. And I have made my bed, or anytime I've slept someplace else, I have made that bed. Even in the hotel, I make the bed because I don't want anybody in my room anyway, but I still make the bed. Every morning I make the bed. If I'm over, I make the bed. And then if I go to someone's house and I'm like, you didn't make your bed, and I make my bed. So it's something that I have to do every single day. It's part of my morning routine. And I don't say my manifest when I travel, when I'm out with other people and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not really working, but I do say my manifest every single morning.
Yay.
And it is what gets me in a better mood. And I'm just like, I can feel the energy. And I mean, I wake up with a bunch of energy anyway, like ready to go. So I have to kind of pull myself back, and I have to change the energy that I feel into a positive, productive energy, as opposed to just go get up and do what you normally do, random energy.
Yeah.
And so that manifest, and it's my own, so it's not like a list of affirmations that everybody's reading. It's set to me, and I just updated it last week because I got the first one and I needed more inspiration. So I changed that. So if people don't have a manifest, they definitely need to get with Kelly to get a manifest. It's very, very simple, and it makes the world of difference. It's not the only thing, but it is part of why I have doubled and then doubled again my clientele, because I really don't focus so much on the money part of it and the dollar value. I just on becoming more successful as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. It's also opening the doors to other things that I already knew that I needed to do. And now I know that I'm ready to do that, because like I've taken on what I can for accounting. I'm done with that. You know, if someone else comes around, I do it, but I have other things that I do. So you do classes, you speak. Tell us about, you went to London a couple times. Tell us about you getting to go to London and show them what the United States has to offer.
That was so fun. So my speaking coach, one of many, because I keep hiring speaking coaches so I can keep getting better. But she had, and I don't know how she found this guy, but she somehow hooked up with this guy in London who does business conferences for women. And so he asked her if she knew of any speakers that might want to come speak at his conference. And she was like, oh yeah, I know a few. So she messaged me and she said, do you want to go do this? And I looked at all the details, and it was, it was scary. It was downtown London, like legit, in a room full of businesswomen. And I was like, do I dare? And then I was like, how could I not dare? So,
yeah.
And I'd spoken like 200 times already. So the speaking part was no big deal. The traveling to London alone was the big deal. That part, like, that worried me. I was thinking terrorists, plane hijacking, underground bombs in the subway, all the things were going through my head. But I was like, no, I'm just going to go. So the day I left, I bawled all morning in terror. But I went anyway, and I ended up getting a friend to go with me. I posted on Facebook. I said, I'm going to London to speak. I'm going to spend a couple days in Paris. I have to go by myself. Does anybody want to go with me? And about 100 people said yes, but one person messaged me and she said, tell me your flight times. I'm going to go buy my flight right now. And I was like, oh, this girl's serious. Right. So she ended up coming with me. It was awesome. We flew into Paris because, well, first of all, I wanted to make sure I saw Paris because, remember, I was a French major.
Right, yes.
I've always wanted to go to Paris. And it was actually like $200 cheaper to fly into Paris than London. So I was like, wow, that's a win-win. So we flew into Paris. We spent 2 days there. And then we rode the Channel over to London. And we had 1 day before I spoke. So then we just kind of slept and chilled. And then I got up. We went to the event. I had a booth. I gave my presentation. I was in the morning. I was like the third speaker. I smashed it. It was amazing. I loved it. And while I was there, the coolest thing, while I was there, 2 other of the speakers came up to me afterwards and said, I'm having an event in February and you are the speaker I didn't know I was missing. Will you come back and speak at my event? And I was like, really? Okay, the best thing, their events were 2 days apart. So I was like, 1 flight, 2 speaking engagements. Yes, I will do that.
That's awesome.
So in February, right before coronavirus hit, it was hit, but nobody was freaking out yet. So right before coronavirus hit, I flew to London again. I spoke at 2 events. I was there for a whole week. And then I came home and then everything shut down. And I was so happy I'd gone before the shutdown. So yeah, and at all 3 places I spoke on manifesting, and they were all business women. So I focused on manifesting more business, manifesting more clients for your business.
Right.
So it was amazing. I loved it so much.
How exciting.
I know.
That'd be something. I don't mind traveling alone. I travel alone all the time, but I'm always heading to somewhere that I know someone's going to be picking me up. So I can't imagine going someplace, because I already freaked out because I had to take in Atlanta, they have like the public transportation.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, you're coming in during rush hour. We're going to need you to get on the such and such train and get off at this exit. And I mean, I'd never done that before. Yeah, and so I walked over to the guy and I'm like, I need to go here. And he looked at me and he goes, either train. And I was like, okay, well, I've never done this before. And it was like 7 stops. And so I'm like, there's like a map. And I'm like, okay, where? I couldn't enjoy myself because I was like, because, I'll get off and I'll be start talking to people and then you just pass it. And I just sat there. I was so nervous. And then I got off and they were waiting there for me. And I was like, what was the problem? Because I could have just got off if I missed it. I mean, I could have just got off that one. They could have just came pick me up at another, like they could have just drove out further away. I mean, it wasn't like I was going to die or anything, but that was like so scary to me. And now I'm like, do I need to take the train again? I can do the train. I mean, pretty much a pro. I've done it once. So I kind of get that. I don't know if I'd want to go to London by myself, but I would if it was something awesome like that, because you're going to go into a bunch of people. You're just going to meet new people anyway. Yes. And you probably don't know strangers. So you just.
The train in London, by the way, it's like, so I had to take the train everywhere. So you get off the airport, the train station's at the airport. You get on the train and then you have to transfer like 3 times. Up and down. There's no elevators usually, so all your luggage, it's horrible. But the weird thing about London, the train, nobody speaks. If you say a word, people look at you like you just ripped all your clothes off and did a naked dance. It's the weirdest thing. They're so antisocial. They're like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, don't say anything out loud, don't do anything weird, don't do anything. So that was uncomfortable for me, because you know me. Right. I'm like, I want to talk to everybody. And boy, I just got shut down over and over and over.
Well, I was on our train. There wasn't that many people on there. They were talkative because some of the people were actually going downtown to a show. Somebody was going down to dinner. There was a sign, and I'm a rule follower. There's a sign on there that says, no food or drinks, allowed. Oh yeah. And we get the stop, and at the stop, this girl in a wheelchair gets on, and she's got this box on her lap, and it's got candy. She's got a cooler with pop, and she's selling all of it. And she's got this sign that just says, "Help me with my medical bills." And she's sitting there, people are like buying the water, and I'm thinking, the sign says no soliciting, no selling. It's like right there, like.
You're breaking every rule.
I'm not going to come here and go to jail because I bought a bottle of water on the train. I can't do it. Sorry, I just
Oh
can't.
my gosh.
My friends are like, oh yeah, people do that all the time. Don't buy from them. She probably's not even really in a wheelchair. They just, but I'm thinking, well, I mean, if you need a bottle of water, it was $1. So, I mean, it wasn't like she was price gouging people, but I was like, I really felt bad. And I thought about giving, he goes, oh, nope, those are just, he said, don't do that. But yeah, they're like regulars on the train. And I was thinking, but there's a sign right here that nobody was listening to. So that,
Nobody cares, right?
but you know, maybe they're rebels. Maybe they were like, no, I'm going to drink this water from that I bought from this girl, even though there's a sign right above my head.
I'm gonna drink this illegal water.
That's right. Exactly. Oh man, this water tastes better than any other water because I'm getting away with it.
Woohoo!
So, okay, so we have your speaking, which is awesome. And I have always, I've been putting together some of my stuff. I had to have been listening to people on YouTube. I do 7 hours a week. Self-education is what I have to do. So every morning I have to do 30 minutes. And right now I'm actually trying to finish up my book because I've got so many flipping books to read that I'm like so behind. And I'm like, come on. So I listened to my book this morning, but normally I listen to like a 30 to 45 minute Facebook thing whether it's Brene Brown.
Oh, I love her.
Or even I was watching Tony Robbins. He had a guy on there. His last name was Singer, and it was as in like an hour and a half. So it took me 3 days to watch it because I only let myself do 30 minutes because I've got to get my day going. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. It was a really interesting story. What I loved about that is this guy was a multimillionaire and he almost went to prison or jail.
Michael Singer?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I've read his books.
Oh, yes. But I loved it because he was like, I look at my own personal life and I think I've been put through so much tragedy and so many horrific, horrible things that either I'm supposed to feel really sad for myself or I'm supposed to help other people realize that maybe they only did one of the 50,000 things that I've encountered or my friends have encountered, but that you can still be happy and live a better life. And he just hit me when he was like, yeah, this guy did this and the FBI came in and took this and did that. And I'll be honest with you, I actually worked for a company where the FBI came in and took all of our records. And it was quite interesting. And they weren't even crazy. FBI. I was like, when they called me, they're like, Kim, you need to get to work. And I was like, I'm busy. And they're like, no, we've got some FBI people here that need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, shut up. And they're like, no, really, they just raided the place. We need you to come down. So I'm thinking, television FBI guy? No, no cute guy here. I'm thinking, how am I supposed to fall in love with you? Have this romantic, and you're not even.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Hook up. I'm like, this could be it. Negative. That didn't happen. So I dealt with that, but it wasn't my company and I hadn't done anything wrong. In fact, I was the one that they thought was finding things and because I was rebuilding an accounting system. So I listened to him. And then my favorite right now is Simon Sinek. I love him.
He's awesome.
Like he's just so good. And he's cute as well. The other day I was listening to him and he said, yeah, I was on the plane in my window seat. And you know, like the girl sits next to me and you're always wishing, maybe that's the girl I'm going to date and marry. Nope, wasn't her. Like you and I have the same personality.
Oh my gosh.
We're always doing that little love affair thing and it doesn't work out because I'm on the plane. I'm just kind of like it's Southwest. I can get anybody. And nope. So anyway, but I've been listening to like a lot of different books on speaking because that's what I want to do. And one of the things is always tell stories.
Yes.
And I believe that I started writing down all my stories because we have stories and we tell them for a reason. And so I'm writing my stories down now so that I can figure out how they go into what I need to say or what I even need to say. So
Yeah.
you and I will be working on that on another time, because we've got big plans coming up. I mean,
Yeah.
we're superstars now, but we're going to be mega superstars within the
Dude, we're
next couple
taking over the world.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing world domination since 2019, hashtag world domination. People laugh at me. And I'm like, you don't understand how famous I am.
They
I
don't.
mean, I'm like everywhere, and I hang out with some freaking awesome famous people. So, sorry about that. I'll take that off the hook. Um, I was like, I have to organize my story. So that's actually where I'm starting right now. Is I'm just writing down every story that I've ever told, because
I love that.
I believe that storytellers keep my attention more. I like to hear the stories. And so I think if I write the stories down, then people can read the stories and be like, okay, this is what you really need to focus and concentrate and talk about. So that's what I do. When you go out and speak, how much of your past do you incorporate or use in your daily stuff?
I usually tell the story of how I went from being a graphic designer to being a fired, depressed disaster to finding my new life of being a speaker and a coach. So I usually always include that story, because
Right.
people are always just like dumbfounded that I could have such a huge transformation in only 2 years.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that too, when you relate with people, you know, when you're trying to find the ideal client, I believe that when someone that you're trying to help feels comfortable with you on your honesty,
Yes.
and then you're going to meet other people who are like, yeah, she's damaged, I'm not going to deal with her, like that's just ridiculous, like that was just stupid. And of course that kind of weeds out who you work with. I
Yes.
think if
It
people,
does.
you know, if you say something or you behave some certain way, it has to be true to you when you
Yeah.
are in this business. It has to, I mean, it has to be you now. They have to see you mad, they have to see you whatever. And that's why we do KIMology 411, because KIMology allows me to be me, and it allows me to practice my speaking. And
Yeah.
quick,
Perfect.
because I've got a co-host, I like that quick banter back and forth, and it gives me a catalog of information that if I go out and I talk, and I want to, if I want them, I don't want to have to go into an hour of a certain topic. I can just put it in a podcast, give them the thing. Like we did one on mental abuse the other day, because all this COVID stuff is really messing with people who have had mental abuse in their past. And I suffer from that. And people, and I had made a comment about something on Facebook, and I was basically attacked, which doesn't help anybody's mental abuse now, or mental brain waves. And I thought to myself, there's more people out there like me
Yeah.
that I want them to know. And so I let my guard
Right.
down, and I made a podcast, because Facebook is too easy for people just to rip you apart. But in a podcast, if they want to listen to an hour of me talk about my ex-husband and how abusive he was and what I've gone through and why I can't do this, then
Yeah.
you may comment however you'd like on, well, you're pathetic. Why would you stay there that long? I feel sorry for you. You're strong. I can understand that happened to me. There's a story there that you don't get on social media.
No.
And so I think that's the hardest thing that I have, is I'm a very strong person, but I've never, ever hid my past. I've always just been 100% honest with it, which I think is why I haven't killed people or have gone crazy.
I'm glad you haven't killed anyone.
I know. I mean, like, I think I mean, honestly, if you keep things built up, it gets really, really bad. And I'm not that way. I mean, I might get depressed, but that's also my way of coping. But I also know that I'm doing it. And it's like my excuse. It's like, I can eat all this ice cream if I want to. Poor me. I will work out tomorrow. Poor me. Trust me, it happens all the time, especially now with what's going on.
Yeah.
So I believe everyone should be okay with their past, and I believe my past makes me who I am today. And so I don't know how you feel if there's things in your past that push you to do what you do,
Oh yeah.
or if it helps you understand your clients better because you did
Yeah.
go through that.
Yeah. And I used to feel, and I know a lot of my new clients feel this way. I felt hopeless, helpless, and stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought anything that happened to me, I was stuck with, and it wasn't my fault that it happened. I had nothing to do with it happening, and I was stuck with it, and I had no way to get out of it. And that's how I viewed my life. It was very victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I'm really glad that I went through that, because now I totally understand the victim way of thinking,
Yeah.
how damaging it is, how disempowering it is to believe that you have no control over anything when actually you have all the control over everything. And watching people learn that is one of my favorite things ever. When, see them go from the shift to, this is never going to change. This is all I've got. It's all I'm ever going to get, to, oh my gosh, I just manifested that. What else can I manifest? Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that's my favorite transition. I love it so, so, so much.
You get that kind of adrenaline high off of just the little things. I mean, it doesn't even take a lot to appreciate all that. So we said we were going to come back to it. You're lucky. You have a husband that has joined you like just recently more. He started joining you in on your webinars and your podcasts and stuff like that. Tell me how that is going.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. So when my whole transformation started, he was so relieved, because I was literally a mess. And I feel bad for him having to live with me like that. So when the transformation started, he was all for it. And then he kind of did some himself. He went to lots of those seminars too. And some of the coaching we bought as a couple. So he went through some of the coaching too. And he is such a good teacher. He loves to teach people truth. He loves it. And so when I started, making this a business, he's like, I could kind of get into that too. And I was like, let's do it. Come do it with me. So he didn't at first, but then I started like making room for him in my webinars. I'd be like, honey, do you want to do part of my webinar with me? Is there a part you want to speak on? When we did live events, I would say, do you want to get up and talk for part of the time? And so, we shifted him into being involved on the stage instead of behind the scenes like most husbands are. And he just loved it. And the audience loves him. My clients love him. He's the cutest. He's so sweet. He's so smart, and he's just adorable. And it just is working. It's awesome. So we are slowly transitioning him into just be in it as much as I am. So it's super fun. And I'm so glad, because you know what? I've seen so many couples where the wife got into personal development gung-ho, and the husband was like, and they end up divorced.
Right.
I've seen it. Like those first few seminars I went to, half those people are divorced now.
Right.
And it makes me so sad, because only one half of the couple moved forward, and the other half of the couple stayed back and was like, what is this change? I don't like this change.
Right.
But he's all in it with me, and it's awesome. I'm very lucky that he's so open to it.
Well, and that goes back to the communication part, is as you are going out to be your own superstar and you're manifesting and you're making your changes, you're not paying attention to the relationship part of it. And that's the whole part of the manifesting, is it should include everybody. It shouldn't just include you. And it's very easy to, you do you, I'll do me. And you kind of fall in that comfort zone. And then when someone changes, and it doesn't even have to be manifesting in any relationship, when one person decides to change, we see it all the time. One of the, you've got two people that really never worked out. They're not that healthy. And one goes out and just drops 50 pounds and is just doing everything. And they're getting that attention from other people that they never got before, that they're feeding off of. It's just like, you get addicted to this. And your spouse, of course, is like, I don't get it, right? Because they don't see anything different. They're like, great. Have you ever do you watch the show This Is Us? Have you ever seen the show?
No, I tried once and it made me cry and I never watched it again.
Well, in there, the one girl, she's probably 400 or 500 pounds, and she marries Toby. And Toby, they meet at a place where you're losing weight. Well, when it gets down into the thing, and all that stuff, Toby is actually like, he's wearing all these bigger clothes. You can't really tell, but he's actually been going and losing the weight, but she can't because she has a baby and she's depressed, and he's over here and he starts, texting with people from the gym, and she's totally misunderstanding it. But these girls are, they're all like, they're in the gym mode and she's the mom mode, and you can see the thing, but he hid it from her because he said, I don't want you to feel bad that I'm losing weight because I love you how you are. But they did not communicate with each other, which causes problems. And I always look at, in communication, I don't have anybody to communicate with. I'm just like, hey, Kim, what? But I do with my friends. I want my life, my life changes, everybody in my life has to change with me, because I don't want them to leave me. And I think one of the things we talked about was, what if you made all the money in the world? How does your life change? And I think someone the other day had said, I'll lose my friends.
Sure.
And you're like, so if you think that, then you might want to include your friend. Like, you want to include your friends in the whole thing and take them along on the journey with you. That's kind of how I feel. I mean, if they don't want to go, they don't have to go, but at least you're communicating with them. And communication is huge when it comes to that. And when you and Lynn are, I've done multiple meetings where you guys are there. He's always the one to your, like, it's really hard for you to be mean. I mean, and then you always have to tell people, I'm going to get mean. Just to warn you. And then it's really not mean, but I know he doesn't get mean, but his brain works differently than yours does. So when he'll be sitting there, he'll be like, you know what? I heard what she said. How about you do this? Like, he always gives me my own assignments because I'm never normal with anything. You're like, everybody should be the same. Oh, Kim's going to join us.
Kim needs an advanced assignment.
Kim's gonna need a different thing, because that's not it. But he's always there to challenge people because he understands that, and he too probably is the exact same way. He probably caught on to this pretty fast when he allowed himself.
Yeah, he's amazing at it, and he sees things I don't see.
Right. And so, like on KIMology 411, when I started to do this podcast, it was like 3 years ago. I wanted to do a podcast. I wrote down topics, and I was thinking, why would anybody want to listen to me talk for 30 minutes? Like, just me. Like, what am I going to talk about? Because I don't know that much of interesting things. And when I put out on Facebook, hey, I'm getting ready to start a podcast, and Tyson contacted me and said, if you ever want to co-host, I have a degree. And
that is so awesome.
He's an introverted, does not talk to anybody. In fact, I'd seen him out one day walking, and I was like, hi, Tyson. And and then he sent me a message on Facebook. I was sorry, I was at lunch and I didn't stop and say hi. And I was like, you wouldn't have stopped and said hi anyway, because he doesn't like talking to people. So how are you going to work with me? Right. Podcast, and we're on episode 44 right now, and we love it because he's got some crazy ideas. Like, he's a conspiracy theorist, and then he thought I was going to be over here, and then I bring it back, and he's like, never thought that of you. I go, one thing you're going to learn about me is you never know what I'm going to say. Because you think it's going to be one thing, and I'm going to switch it up on you. I know what you think, and I'm going to switch it up on you. And
I love it.
So we have that banter back and forth, and I see, with Lynn there, that you could be like, okay, I'm really tired of talking right now, and so what do you have to say? And he can talk. You can get your mind back on it, listen, and then you can get back into it, as opposed to having all the pressure on there. Plus, you can do like your meetings and stuff. You now have someone that can speak with you, so it's not just you, or that understands that you're going to be gone for something.
Yeah,
it helps having your husband and communicating. So that's awesome. So we have speaking engagements. You have your classes. You start about every couple months. You do a money manifesting webinar that leads up to your intense money manifesting class, which I took. Right. It was 8.
Yes.
And I don't know how you did it at 6 a.m. I actually signed up for it because it was at 7 a.m. and I needed to be responsible. Like, that's awesome. I was like, I don't get out of bed till 8, so I need to do it. And I mean, I even did it on vacation. Like,
yeah, you did.
I still did it because I'm like, I'm very responsible when I need to. But it also started out my day on a positive note. Like, I didn't have to deal with a bunch of crap and then get to try to listen. It was the first thing. And so things stuck in my head a lot more. And so you do those every 8 weeks-ish kind of a thing. You can enroll in class. And then we talked about you doing your alumni once you get a couple of the groups so that you can continue helping us go forward with
I love that idea.
All of the stuff, because we all still want to keep, we all still need to be held accountable for it.
Right. And
but the latest thing, and you are exactly like me, like you go someplace and you're like, I can do that, like, and you went on a retreat.
And within 2 days of getting home,
Kelly's like, I'm doing the retreat.
Oh my gosh, I've got a problem, don't I? I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and let's do it all right now.
Do it all. Well, and you already do your cruises.
Yeah, and those are retreats.
Yeah, those are retreats. Those are a lot of work, because you've got the cruise part of it, and balancing and juggling all the different things that cruises have to entail. I'm sure it's not as easy as my bus trips that I do. But a retreat is totally different. And what I'm excited about is the retreat is that, like, I did a scrapbooking retreat one time. That's my only retreat. I had to scrapbook for 3 days. And that was back in the day when I scrapbooked. And we went up to a cabin and we slept in bunk beds. And of course, I always get sick because I can't bunk beds and dust and stuff like that. Air always affects me differently, and so I have to take more medicine. But man, we scrapbooked and people were teaching me some techniques. It was awesome, and I still remember that. And that was probably 25 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago that I did the scrapbooking stuff. So when you said a retreat, I was like, I would do a retreat. I would love to do a retreat. Like, I just traveled there, and then you can do some outdoor exploring, and you can, you can and
walk on fire.
Right. Yeah. We're going to get to walk on fire. And so tell us about your ideas. I mean, this isn't set in stone because this is like, what, a week old?
Right. It's getting more set every day though. Like I spend like 3 hours a day on it.
Oh, wow.
So it is very close to being set. So the first thing I wanted to do was a firewalk. I've done 2 firewalks and they both changed my life. So in the last 3 years, I've done 2 of them. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to have a retreat. All right, we need to have a firewalk, number 1. So I spent days looking for a place to do it. I've narrowed it down to about 20 different houses. On VRBO, vacation rentals by owner.
Right.
So the last 2 days I've sent 11 messages. Would it be okay if we did a firewalk on your property? And I've had 3 yeses now. 3 people have said yes.
Oh, good.
So now I have to decide which firewalk company I want to use, because there's one up by Bear Lake where a lot of people have voted that they want to go because it's on the lake. But it's May, so there might still be snow up there. But there is a guy there that will come do it. And one of the guys down here said he'd go up and do it for an extra $100. So now I just have to decide which place I want, because the firewalk is set either location. We can do a firewalk.
Nice.
So now I have to decide which of the houses. I have 2 favorites, so it's down to 2 now. And I've got a cook. We've already planned the entire menu. I've planned all the processes. Besides the firewalk, we're doing 2 other scary things. I've already sourced all the supplies I need. I had to make a lot of phone calls to find certain people that make certain things that you can't just buy. I've made an expense list so I can get all the pricing done. I've already designed t-shirts for the retreat. Seriously, I work like some days I work like 8 hours a day on this retreat already, and I've been home 10 days.
Right.
So yeah, it's very close to being ready to sell, but it's an influencer retreat. It's for people that want to grow their influence. And so we're going to be working on overcoming your fears of visibility and overcoming the obstacles that are stopping you, and embracing your unique talents to be the influencer you're meant to be. So it's going to be awesome and life-changing, and there's going to be a lot of crying, a lot of transformation. I'm so excited. And there's even some bunk beds. There's also regular beds. You can also get a room to yourself.
Very, very cool.
The 2 houses have 11 bedrooms and 10 bedrooms.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so plenty of room.
Very cool. So I have it on my calendar to be there. I'm just gonna need a ride from the airport. I won't have to fly in.
Yeah.
And I thought about I'm just gonna keep watching the flights, because with all this COVID stuff, and as soon as May comes around, I'm gonna be like, and snag, because
Absolutely.
the prices have been so cheap for my 2 more trips this year. I just bought the tickets. I didn't even use my points that I normally use, because they were like $149 as using 8,000 of my points. I'm just going to pay $149, and I'm going to use those points for 2021. I mean, they don't expire. Perfect. So I'll be able.
I'm so excited you're coming.
So, but I think that we need to also include your podcast and our podcast. We need to set up a time in there where they have to go in and do some interviews like this to understand and to practice how to do it. Whether we do it on Zoom and they sit in one room and I sit in another one, or you sit in, or however we do that, I think that needs to be added to it, because
I'm putting that in my retreat notebook right now. Because I want them all to start a podcast.
Right. So I think I did it on one of my networking meetings. I went in and I showed them how to do the podcast, and we actually did an episode of me just talking randomly to them. And it does take a lot of work. And so if you start up doing something that's, like fun and exciting as you work into what you really need to do, you're building your influence and your confidence at the same time.
Totally.
Because you ever see a movie star and they're like, so did you like the movie? And they're like, oh, I never watch movies that I make. I listen to every single one of my podcasts, and I am cracking up with Tyson and I in my car, laughing, because we're talking serious, and then it just goes adult NC-17, and we have to steer it back, and it just goes everywhere in the podcast, and I'm cracking up, and
oh my gosh,
message, we're so funny. And I was like, yes, we are, because that's just my personality. I mean,
that's the best.
Boring. So I am planning on coming. So I think that would be a great thing, and that we could get them all set up, and they would actually just get their own. And by the time they left, they would have at least 1, if not 2 episodes, because they could interview each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you have time.
I love that idea.
So, because since it's influencer nowadays means like Instagram influencer and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think I really have a problem. I'm not shy, and I love what I do and stuff like that. I just let myself. I just let my. There's just blocks. There's just like things that need to be pushed out of the way, and I don't know how to do that right now. So that's why I'm working so hard on the education and listening to speakers and stuff like that, and to come up with a story, because everybody needs to have their own story. They need to have that. Not like the life story, but just a random story that, like I was like, my story was, when we were talking, earlier about my dad and my mom in the room. I just can imagine my dad was like, well, I got the news today. BNSF is taking over, and in order for me to keep my job, I'm going to have to move to Texas. And I totally did the Hallmark Christmas movie run out that every Hallmark Christmas movie has. I don't know if you watch Hallmark Christmas movie or not. It's when they're standing around the corner and they hear him say, yeah, but she's really annoying. And they're like, what? And then they run, and then they get on the airplane, and then the Prince of Baljalas has to get on the plane and come back and be like, or whatever, or the mom does something, but they never ever stick around for the complete story. Like that's one of my stories that I use, because everybody,
that's awesome.
They do it all the time.
Yeah.
In real life, you're just kind of like this. What do you mean we're going to have to move? And they're like, no, we're not moving, Kim. I'm just saying my job is moving, and I'm going to quit my job, and I've got another job over here, and everything would have been great. But no, drama Kim. And I am driving, tears, and I don't even cry. They're just coming down, and I got to my friends, and I'm pounding on the door.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, we're moving to Texas.
Oh my God.
I'm going to have to live here. And I was planning out. I was trying to call people like, I'm going to live with you. And my dad was like, hold on, drama queen.
That is so funny.
So like, those are my stories, and those are embarrassing to say, but I think they're funny because I was still in high school. So, I didn't do it yesterday.
That's hilarious.
So, find those kind of things. But anyway, so what is next for you?
What's next? Getting my book published.
Ooh.
That's my mock-up.
I forgot about the book.
Yeah. I'm stuck on chapter 4. I've rewritten it now, and it still needs something. So I just need to crack down and do it. When chapter 4 is done, it's out.
So you think you have something blocking you because you're afraid to let it get out? Is that what
maybe? I don't know. I should have you read my chapter 4.
Yeah, you can. Is it on book on tape?
No.
Yeah, send me chapter 4, and I will read it out loud to myself. I can't
tell me what's wrong with it.
I will. I can do that. I'm able to tell people what they do wrong.
Okay. I'll send you chapter 4.
It doesn't make sense, because I don't know, I could never really write a book. I could talk and have someone else do it. Like, here's my story, you go do it. Because writing a book would just bore me to death. But I am putting together the vocal parts of my story, and that maybe at some day I can mesh it into something. I have the lifetime stories, and then Hallmark stories kind of meshed together, and then like maybe some Cinemax and some HBO.
Oh my God. In there. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Until my mom is no longer around,
right?
to tell my story. No, I am totally joking.
No, I've got a few stories that aren't coming out until some people are gone. It's true.
I think we all have those stories. That's what makes life fun.
Yeah.
All right. So, I always ask my guests, because we're superstars, what is your superpower?
Well, I always say that my superpower is crying, because when I'm on stage, I tend to lose it a little bit sometimes and start crying. It's not like hysterical snot crying,
Mm-mm.
but I do get, I really feel what I'm saying, and I really believe it. And I can feel the transformation sparking.
Right. Yep. And there she goes again. I totally get that feeling. I'm not a crier, but when that happens to me, I get the same thing, except I get mad at myself. I'm like, you don't cry. Stop crying. Stop. And I have to stop. And I'm like, this ain't going to happen. You're not going to win this
No,
time.
it's hard. It's hard to let yourself go there, because what if you can't come back?
Right.
And on stage, that's a real fear.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's my superpower. I can cry on stage. I can feel the feelings. I can connect with people, and then I can come back.
Pull it back.
But I have a trick. Do you want to know the trick?
What's your trick?
My amazing husband, we were doing so we process each other all the time. We do, personal development processes on each other, belief breakthroughs, things like that. And we were doing a belief breakthrough a few months ago before my big event in February. And I said that I was really worried that I would get up there and I would start crying and I wouldn't be able to stop, because it was my first full day event and I was going to be talking about some pretty major things, pretty transformative things. And I do tend to cry when I feel transformation happening in the audience. I get, it really touches me and I start crying. So he came up with this idea, which was genius. He said, imagine next to you is a tank, and your emotions come out of you and they go into the tank and they hold there. So when you cry, you have overflow, it goes into the tank, and then at the bottom of the tank is a spigot. And when you feel like you need to stop crying, turn the spigot off. And so we tried it 3 times before the event. When I was crying about something, he said, try the spigot. And I'd be bawling and I'd go like this, and I'd stop crying. And I was like, how does that work? I don't know how it works. It's amazing. But we set the intention that would work, and so it works. So when I'm on stage, if you ever see me, my hand's down low, but if you ever watch my hand, I'll go like this. It's because I'm turning off the tears.
Oh my God.
I'm dialing it back. So if you ever notice, that's what's happening. And it works every time. It worked the whole event. Every time I started crying, when I felt like it was like, oh no, it's getting too much, and I'd be fine.
See, those are like amazing things to me. My way of stopping myself from crying, that I actually learned by myself, but it was at my dad's funeral, because my dad never cried. I never saw my dad cry. My mom might have cried, like when she was yelling at us kids, like she was so mad.
Yeah,
it wasn't a sad cry. We weren't around that. But I was at my dad's funeral, and everyone is just blubbering, just crying. My dad's casket is up there, and I'm in the second row, and my mom and my uncle and my brothers are in front of me, and I'm sitting next to my cousins, and I'm just kind of looking around. And at a funeral, I'm thinking to myself, these people aren't sad that my dad is dying. They're sad that they're thinking about their parents, and that's what funerals are. I mean, some of these people haven't seen my dad forever, but I'm sitting there and they're talking, and all of a sudden my eyes, like I can feel like to start to cry. And I'm thinking, I don't cry, but I can't stop. And I looked up and I said, Dad, and it just went away. It just goes, whew. Like it just brushes it away. And so every time when I'm doing that, I just look up and I'm just like, and I have to stop. I mean, like you're looking at an audience, but I have to stop, and I'm like this. And I take one breath in my stomach, and I just look at my dad and I'm like, you need to take this. And he just takes it away.
Oh my heck. That's awesome.
If I'm looking up and I'm like this, all right, I don't know where you're at. Stop.
You got a job, come do it.
Yeah, but I have a lot of different things, and that was the point, because I've never really cried before. I never had to deal with it, but I was not going to cry at the funeral. I just don't cry. And all I did was I just looked up and I was like, Dad, like I was asking him, like, what are these people doing? And you could just feel it, just kind of like a breeze went through me, like, you're good. And I was like, okay. And that's why I always tell everybody, people, react differently. So someone cries all the time doesn't mean, and you don't cry. There's nothing wrong with what's going on. That's who they are, and that's who I am. And so that's so far works for me. But mine is deep stomach breathing. I just have to breathe through my stomach and out. Yeah. And just kind of get it under control and try to stay on topic. Because that's another problem of mine is I'll forget what I'm talking about because now I'm just mad that these stupid tears are coming. And I'm like,
you get all distracted.
Yeah, so you're just doing like 27 different things because like if I do bust out, which I haven't done that. I don't know how I would stop. I'd be like, how embarrassing is this? Like I'd have to throw out a joke or something because I'm going to need to come up with a story about that. But anyway, so you have your own podcast as well.
I do.
And so why don't you tell all of my fans how they can get a hold of you? You've got website, you've got Facebook, you've got podcasts, YouTube, what do you got?
Man, I have all those things. The podcast is The Queen of Manifesting. So it's on every podcast platform. So just search for that. It's even on Spotify. It's on iHeartRadio. It's literally everywhere. My website, super easy, thequeenofmanifesting.com. And if you go there, you'll get my free cheat sheet on how to manifest. So the 6-step formula on one cute PDF, one sheet of paper. So that's a good little freebie to get. My Facebook is Kelly K. Walker. My middle name is Kaye. So you can search for me, or you can search for Queen of Manifesting. I'm pretty sure I come up on Facebook when you type that because that's the nickname of one of my accounts. And then my Facebook group is awesome. I have a free one. It's called Manifesting Influence. So just search for Manifesting Influence and it'll pop up. And join all those things. My YouTube channel is called The Queen of Manifesting. I'm really easy to find. I have very consistent branding, so I'm very easy to find.
Well, yeah, and make sure that you go and you find what the branding looks like, because I did look up Queen of Manifesting. There was there's other people out there that don't use the exact thing, but when you search for it, it comes up and you've got purple and you've got your little
purple
crown.
And gold. Yeah.
And so make sure that you do that every Monday. And this is Central Time, 10:30, 9:30 your time.
Yep.
Right. I get all the time. You do a free 30-minute manifesting kind of like a class or whatever.
Yeah.
And so anybody that is listening to this right now and you go find the group, join us on Monday because we're always there for a half hour there. And then from there, you've got all the different options. You've got advanced manifesting. You've got your money intense classes. There's all these different classes that people can take. And before we go, I just wanted to say that I read the book by Jen Sincero, How to Be a Badass and How to Be a Badass at Making Money.
I love those books.
That out of all the books that I've listened to, and I've listened to about 100 different books from authors that want to help you become a better person.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty proud about saying that because 3 years ago, I would have been like, I've read 0 books.
That's a lot. That's huge.
Yeah, I've read a lot. And I read that, and what she talked about in there was you can't make money till you spend money, and how she made herself feel uncomfortable. And then all the money just came pouring in. And I've always been such a cheapskate. And we've always been, being a single mom, I didn't want to spend any extra money on anything. Right. And by going through these classes, it loosened up the belt a little bit. And it allows me to think, you know what? The people that are providing a service to me have value. And that value is with money. And so instead of looking for everything that's free, I want to make sure, and I'm an accountant, so I can't make myself too uncomfortable.
Right.
but I can make myself a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it has come back. Like I spend $500 and $1,000 shows up over here with a new client.
Yay.
And so listening to that book, without that book, I don't think that I'd have been like, man, I like the free 30 minutes, but man, I just don't have
buy
that
anything else.
$129. That's just a lot. And then I go to the casino and I drop $200 in a slot machine. What? So,
Right.
you know, I think you have to, this is great to have someone that's there in person, but there's so many books out there. And they can always contact me on KIMology 411 if you want a list of some really good books to listen to. But remember that if you believe you have value and you believe that someone should be paying you for your services, that the people that are helping you have value and that you should be paying them for their services. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially in self-help, because a lot of people, they just really just want to look for the cheapest way of doing it. And that is not where all of the big successful people got by being cheap and cutting corners.
Nope.
And not putting their money where their mouth is. So there's so many different things that you have to offer. And I'm excited that you joined me on my Superstar segment.
Me too.
It's hard. It's hard. It is
we need to stick together as superstars.
Yes, we do. We have some plans. We're going to be working. We've got some things going on in the next couple years. I like to plan things out. And I've got a great idea. We also have our friend Scott.
Yes.
I'm
so excited.
New York, went to school together. And I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't start seeing the three of us, you know, coming out and taking over the world, because I believe that we all have strengths in 3 different places.
Yeah, we do.
I think that if we were together and we did something, I think you would come out with everything you possibly needed to know. Probably more, and probably excited and wanting more. So we'll be working on that. I said,
stay tuned, right?
Yes. This is only the beginning, and I'm excited that you join me.
Thanks.
As my last guest on here, Oleg said, called him a superstar, and he goes, I think everybody's a superstar. And I go, that's kind of what this show means. Like, I truly believe that everyone's a superstar. I wouldn't be calling myself something that I don't believe everybody else is.
Right. Just not everyone has tapped into it yet.
No, they haven't, and they don't believe it. And so that's what I like. I love hanging out with other people that are like, I'm so awesome. In a good way.
Right. In a healthy way.
In a healthy way. So anyway, do you have anything else that you want to say? Anything else that you want to tell my amazing fans out there?
Well, we should invite them to the retreat.
Oh, yeah, definitely the retreat. I also think that we need to make sure that they know that you're in Utah, but that 90% of what you do is online.
Yeah. So I have clients everywhere.
Yeah. So your clients are all over the world. And so if you're looking for a coach, whether you have business, you have personal, you have whatever. And the cool thing about Kelly is she's got a team. This isn't just Kelly. She's got a team. If you're going through something and it doesn't fit into her what do you call it? Not agenda, but in her
my expertise.
Yes, your expertise. Yeah. She can say, I got someone over there for you. And we've got a couple groups where we all kind of work together with each other. You've got amazing people. So when they have
mastermind group.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
It's really amazing. It is. And you were gone for a week on your retreat, and I didn't have any Kelly for a week, and it was odd.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't pathetic, and I didn't go and like watch her like on TV, watching slow motion Facebook Live.
Could you imagine?
It wasn't
so
that
funny.
bad.
I'm glad it wasn't that bad.
It was a little bit less than that.
A little bit. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Anyway, so we'll have a lot more things to talk about, and go check out Scott's Superstar segment, as well as Val and Heather and Oleg and now we have Kelly, and I'm hoping to do more and more of the superstar segments as I get more people. So if you have someone that you want me to, if you think is a superstar, let me know, and I will get them on the podcast. And yeah, I can't wait to figure out this retreat thing, because I think that would be awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited you're coming.
And, it's right after tax season. So it's like, I'm going to have to work really hard to do the retreat to then to go to Texas. Cause I always go Memorial Day weekend to Texas. So like, hopefully with all this COVID stuff is over, and then I go there, and then I can just fly off, and,
It'll be so fun.
So that's what superstars do. It's like,
right.
I got with my scheduling agent, me, and
we jet set. We're
exactly, we're jet setters. And it's someday I will go to a foreign country, and I will be on stage, preferably like Australia, because that accent is flipping amazing.
Ooh.
I can't even imagine. I'd be like overloaded with that Australian accent.
Yes. I know a girl that does events in Australia, so.
Ooh, yeah. Well, first of all, I have to like do one.
We'll build you up to that.
Yeah,
we'll build you up to Australia.
We'll get up there. All right, guys, we are going to conclude this episode of Superstar. Thank you once again for joining me. And like I said, every single time, make sure to always think about yourself. But most important, you need to make sure you keep taking all of your adventures. And so we'll talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.